Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council. Help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established amongst us all. Amen. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people as the traditional owners of the land and waterways now known as Manningham. Council pays respects to elders past, present and emerging, and values the ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges and respects Australia's First Peoples as the traditional owners of the land and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contributions made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public who have joined us in person and online to observe tonight's proceedings. I would like to advise that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event that your voice and/or image is broadcast by Council. No additional recording of the meeting is permitted without Council's consent. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and reading the title. I will then call for a mover and seconder of the motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors are able to join the debate on an item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda. Public question time provides people with the opportunity to ask questions of the Council. Council has allocated 30 minutes for question time, and the process of public question time is set out in our governance rules. Questions must be received prior to the start of the meeting to be asked. Where we have received advance notice of a question in accordance with our governance rules, we will provide a verbal response to the question at our meeting. Questions we receive prior to the meeting may be taken on notice if we don't have the information available to provide a meaningful response. If this happens, we will provide you with a written response to your question within 10 working days. Our governance rules provide that we will deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and 2 questions on one issue. I do have the discretion to enable additional questions to be asked when we receive a lot of questions, as we have for tonight's meeting. When it is your turn to ask a question, I will ask you to come forward to the lectern in the gallery. Before asking your question, you will have 2 minutes to make a brief introductory statement. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to Council through our normal channels. To ensure the efficient conduct of our meeting and maximum participation during question time, all question and answers shall be brief as possible and no discussion will be entered into. Councillors and the gallery are reminded that question time is to be conducted in a respectful manner, having considered the diverse views of those present. Any disorderly conduct will be managed in accordance with our governance rules. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. Councillors, I have an apology that has been received by Councillor Diamonte. Councillors, are there any requests for leave of absence? Item 3, prior notification of conflicts of interest. No prior notifications of conflict of interest have been received. Would anyone like to give a notice of conflict of interest? Item 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Conlon.
I'd like to move that we confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on 19th of February 2024 and a council meeting held on 27th of February 2024.
Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Councillor Conlon, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Chen, did you want to speak to the motion? All those in favour of the motion? And that's carried unanimously. Item 5, presentations. 5.1, Manningham Service Awards. Councillors, we have a number of staff who have recently celebrated significant milestones in their years of service here at Manningham. I would like to acknowledge the following council officers. For 20 years of service, we have Simone Boyd from Statutory Planning, David Garner from Environmental Health, Ian Hook from City Compliance, Ben Muccello from Assets and Environment, Emily Ng from Maternal and Child Health, Kathy Pelopoulos from Maternal Child Health. For 25 years of service, we have Betty Filatos from Environmental Health, Sharon Harris from Environmental Health, Nicole King from Infrastructure Services. For 30 years of service, we have Adam Nelson, Roads and Infrastructure. For 35 years of service, we have Tim Hutchins from Facility Management and Bernie Murray from Assets and Environment. And for our whopping 40 years of service, we have Stephen Todd from Facility Management. So I would like to thank all the staff for their contribution, dedication and hard work during their time at Council. And can we give them a round of applause? Congratulations on their outstanding efforts. I was so taken back by Steve's 40 years. Item 6, petitions. There are no petitions this evening. Item 7, public question time. We have received a number of questions for tonight's council meeting. Anyone who has registered a question with council will have the opportunity to read out their question or choose to have their question read out by the CEO. I will call upon those who have registered their questions to come to the lectern in the gallery. Our first question is from Dean Hurston, and Dean is not in the gallery tonight, so I'll ask the CEO to read his question.
Thank you, Mayor. First question is, what amount of waste enforcement costs in the current financial year has the council included in its waste levies charged to residents, if any? And the second question is, what amount of revenue has the council included in the current financial year, 23-24, from waste enforcement actions?
Thank you. I will ask Rochelle Quattrocchi from Director of City Services to answer the questions.
Thank you, Dean, for your question. We don't actually have any waste enforcement costs incorporated into the waste service charge. I will add, though, however, that we do spend considerable time on awareness and education programs to ensure that we have reduced waste across Manningham, and the success of the FOGO program and also our recycling program has contributed to these efforts. In answering your second question, we do not have collect any revenue, and that is not included within the financial year of 2023-24. And again, our efforts are focused more on preventative and also education and awareness to ensure that we have minimised waste across Manningham. Appreciate your question.
Thank you, Rochelle Quattrocchi. Our next questions are from Mary Mikovich. Mary, would you like to come to the lectern? You have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, Council would be doing what many, if not a majority of residents want, and demonstrating that Manningham Council is representing their interests. And yes, some residents will not agree, but that is the case on nearly every issue. Consider the North East Link. Manningham Council joined a legal action on that issue, which was later abandoned. But the point is, Council was prepared to take bold and forceful action on behalf of our community, even though Manningham residents are both supporters and opponents of the North East Link. Policies on violence against women, on the climate crisis, on LGBTQI+, and on racism are all controversial issues. Manningham Council has policies on all of these, despite the fact that some residents are opposed to them. To say that calling for peace is not council business is both wrong and hypocritical in terms of what council has acted upon. If council restricted itself to roads, rates and rubbish, which you have not, there would still be divisions within the community. Roads, rates and rubbish are not always uncontroversial, as the North East Link demonstrates. Even rubbish divides some local communities. You forgot to mention other important areas that can and have been controversial: sewerage, town planning, building permits, and even pet control. Think of cat curfews. Remember Toowoomba, or should I say Toowoomba Council's attempt to increase water supply using recycled water, which led to a huge community campaign and divided that community. Divisions happen when making decisions for groups of people. In fact, that's democracy. It is trying to represent everyone, but ultimately making decisions that most people will support. Finally, some decisions that you make will be easy or straightforward. Others will be hard. The hard ones demonstrate your character. So my question is, do you want me to read that out?
Yes, thank you, Mary. Your 2 questions.
Oh, okay.
No, question 1, please.
Yes, question 1 is, how does the council draw the distinction between what is a council issue and what is not a local issue?
Thank you. I will ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to answer your question.
Let me turn that on. Thank you, Mary, for your question. Under the Local Government Act, the role of a council is to provide good governance in its municipal district for the benefit and well-being of the municipal community. How this council achieves that is outlined in our council plan and in our health and wellbeing strategy. These 4-year plans are developed in conjunction with our partner agencies and informed by extensive community consultation and contemporary data. It sets out ways that we can support the wellbeing of our community. Additionally, Council has a range of advisory committees that involve community members. These committees provide advice to Council about a range of current and emerging issues in our community that require the attention of Council. Council has a range of ways that residents can interact with both elected representatives and the organisation, including providing online feedback, making direct contact and asking questions at public council meetings, such as you have done this evening.
Thank you, Lee Robson. Mary, would you like to ask your second question?
Yes, thank you. You state that the role of council is to deal in matters pertaining to roads, rates and rubbish, yet in 2022, the Australian Local Government Association, of which Councillor Gough was a board member, came together at
Sorry, Mary, you've had your 2 minutes preamble. If you could just ask your second question, please.
So you only get 2 minutes for both questions?
You do, yes. It's just 1 2-minute preamble. So if you could just ask your second question, please.
Okay, so do you believe councils have been equitable in their reactions to the issues of political discord in recent times, considering the fact that councils have supported the Ukrainian people but not the Palestinian people?
Thank you, Mary. I will answer your question. Yes, we believe we have been equitable because Manningham Council is very mindful of the pain and trauma that is occurring in other parts of our world and the local impact it is having on residents. Thank you for your questions. Our next questions are from Isabel Ether. Isabel, if you are in the gallery, would you please come to the lectern? You have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your questions.
Thank you, Council. I'd like it noted for the record that since our last Council meeting, over 2,500 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza. The focus of the advocacy efforts of the community have been to hold Australia's political class at all levels of government accountable for the unwavering support of Israel, despite irrefutable evidence of brazen and barbaric war crimes, ethnic cleansing, decades of illegal military occupation and brutal oppression of the Palestinian people, which all leading humanitarian organisations call apartheid and what the highest court in the world has determined is plausible genocide. Given this, the fact that our advocacy is needed, that our government wouldn't stop weapons sales, cut diplomatic ties and sanction Israel, as is done with rogue nations, and our local MP Wallahan would support this, is disturbing. Shockingly, months of huge and persistent protests in the face of an ever-emboldened Israel, whose bombardment has exponentially intensified, relentlessly bombing Palestinians in the cage it trapped them in, and engineering a famine, has done nothing to change our government's and our MPs' actual position. The weak call for a ceasefire without any consequence enforcing its inaction is appalling. The double standard and systematic ignoring of the majority of Australians should be alarming to all and is the reason why this community turned to council, to add weight to our demands to elected leaders. Instead of supporting, we were charged with causing disunity and upsetting community harmony. The indignation that we had the audacity to turn to council instead of you being angry at those actually perpetrating a genocide is atrocious. How disgusted we were that bureaucratic technicalities were used by council as a shield to deflect from the truth that another political system in this country, state and electorate enabled the silencing of voices speaking out against the worst bombardment of a people, unchallenged by our government and our MP, unparalleled to anything seen since World War II. Rather, you embolden those that have silenced us. Respectfully, I believe that every councillor who voted no to the motion, whatever mental contortions you required to justify your position, should be ashamed. This is the most harrowing, engineered, recorded, visually available human slaughter of our lifetime. Ignorance is willful, and I want it known on the historical record into perpetuity that Manningham said no.
Thank you, Isabel. That is your 2 minutes up.
Thank you.
Would you mind asking your questions? Thank you. I'll ask for the gallery to be quiet. Your first question, please, Isabel.
Yes. My question is directed specifically to Councillor Kleinert, who spoke at length about the motion creating disharmony, implying it was a copy and paste from other councils, which was insulting to those who worked on it, and who ensured it was balanced. You pushed blame to the community for those speaking out for social justice, and you said that we were creating division.
Sorry, Isabel, just the question, please,
It's
because
part
you've
of the
had
question.
the 2 minutes.
It's part of the question.
So just the question,
and the root
please.
issue being political leaders like you fueling division. By you choosing to not pick a side, what you did was actually pick a side, and it was the side that our government is supporting.
Isabel, just the question, please. You've had the 2 minutes.
Yes, I'm getting
Just
to the question.
The one sentence
So what
question.
what I'd like to understand is, as you claim the motion was one-sided, why do you believe that this was the case, and who are you representing by that position?
Thank you, Isabel. I will actually answer the question on behalf of councillors.
But at the last council meeting, Councillor Lightbody was asked a direct question by Dot, and he answered it.
And in submitting your questions beforehand, the questions that you have submitted were not that exact question, so I'm going to answer your exact question, and when we can take your other questions, you can submit through the appropriate channels and we can take those and have a written response. So your first question that I have was, can council please expand on council's role in advocating for the disadvantaged members of our community? Is that your first question?
Sure. Since Councillor Diamante isn't here anyway, I'll leave my question to the next meeting.
Okay, I'll answer that question. So the council plan has identified 5 priority population groups. The priority groups include First Nations people, the LGBTIQA+ communities, youth, culturally diverse communities, and people with disabilities. We work with these representatives from these population groups and use local evidence to identify emerging trends and service needs, and that directs council's advocacy work. Would you like to ask your second question?
I did ask it.
Okay, the second question I had from you was, can council please provide insights as to what communities' disharmony What is community disharmony and how can it be managed without isolating any group? Is that your second question? I'll refer that to Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities.
Another non-answer.
Thanks, Isabel, for your question, and it's pleasing to note that the intent of your question seems to be about not isolating any group and creating an increased sense of harmony, and that's something we very much ascribe to. As the tier of government that operates most closely to the community, you'd be aware, because I think we referred to it in the previous council meeting, that we have a community vision, and it was developed by a large group of our residents and adopted by council in 2020, which is that Manningham is a peaceful, inclusive and safe community. We celebrate life with its diverse culture, wildlife and natural environment. We are resilient and value sustainable and healthy living, a sense of belonging and respect for one another. And that is an aspirational statement for us. It's also reflected in our health and wellbeing strategy that identifies our goal for a connected and inclusive community. And that has priority actions to increase connection and engagement in community life. In 2019, Manningham became an accredited welcoming city. This is an internationally recognised charter that outlines strategies for inclusion in all of community life. We remain committed to being an accredited welcoming city. And each year we focus on a range of activities to support inclusion and a sense of belonging. These things might be activities such as fostering cross-cultural interactions, promoting inclusive spaces, initiating community-led partnerships, consulting our community to understand needs and experiences, supporting cultural events and initiatives by celebrating the richness of our multicultural community, collaborating with other organisations to advocate for systemic change to address the root causes of racism, as an example. We provide a wide range of inclusive services for our community. It might be things like having our libraries open at times where people want to use them, having a range of arts activities or celebrating in cultural celebrations, encouraging volunteering or promoting healthy activities to bring our community together. It's our aim to be inclusive and welcoming for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Isabel. Our next two questions are from Rita Manis. Rita, if you would like to come to the lectern, and you have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your questions.
Thank you, Mayor. It's Rita Manessis. Since the last council meeting on the 27th of February, over 27 children in Gaza have died of engineered starvation by Israel. As we bear witness to Israeli war crimes against the people of Gaza, the pro-Palestine movement continues to grow as governments at all levels, including yours, remain silent and therefore complicit in the face of these war crimes. The pro-Palestine movement is anti-racist and multicultural. People of all faiths, all ages, representing all socio-economic, cultural and language groups can see the parallels between the Jewish Holocaust and the one taking place in Gaza right now, and are working to pressure their leaders to halt it. The movement includes families who attend rallies, people who shut down weapons facilities, boycott companies, risk their jobs by speaking out, people who organise vigils, who sign petitions, call their local MPs and councils, groups that seek to educate through events, forums and protests. These are the people who live in neighbourhoods like the ones represented by your council and the more than 500 other councils in Australia. And yet councillors here labelled last month's motion calling for solidarity with Palestine as divisive, while refusing to elevate residents' calls for justice. This council that cannot pass a motion standing for human rights loses credibility when it calls for social cohesion and harmony. Without calls for justice, there can be no harmony. Councillor Diamonte said that multiculturalism was easy to defend when it was about food and festivities, but harder to do so when it came to issues like this. When multicultural festivals mean more than amplifying your community's calls for justice and solidarity, I would argue that your silence in the face of genocide is hard to defend.
Rita, would you like to ask your first and second question?
My first question is, by characterising the motion and the people who fight for a free Palestine as divisive, you have ruptured the goodwill of the communities that you claim to care about. How will you fix those ruptures while continuing to ignore a genocide and the voices in your community that call for an end to it?
So, Rita, that's a different question to the one that you submitted. So
Slightly
if
different.
you would like to put that question through the normal channels so that we can give you a written response. The question I have down was, can council please define how it intends to promote multiculturalism beyond happy events such as food festivals and religious celebrations? So I will ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to answer that question.
Thank you, Rita. Multiculturalism is an intrinsic part of the fabric of our modern society. Happy events such as food festivals and religious celebrations are much loved features of our community. But in addition to that, over the past 12 months, Manningham has partnered with Victoria University to deliver on a project mapping racism where it occurs and understanding the reporting barriers and supporting the needs of people who experience racism. Victoria University, along with the Welcoming Cities movement, which I mentioned in my previous response, have developed a joint report called Empowerment Through Community-Led Response to Racism. This resource outlines how local governments and service providers can work together with First Nations, multicultural and multi-faith communities to strengthen community empowerment and improve reporting and support services for those affected by racism. Council has also launched the Addressing Race-Based Discrimination project in partnership with Vic Health. This youth-led initiative brings young people from various backgrounds together in facilitated workshops with the specific aim to promote safe spaces for dialogue, collaboration and learning, and empowering young people to become active agents of change in tackling and pledging against racism. And last week, Council hosted an event to acknowledge the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Over 60 members of the local community came together to pause and consider how we can build a fairer and more inclusive community. There's some of the things that we do every day to try and build a stronger and more harmonious community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee Robson. Rita, your second question?
My second question is very similar to my first. How does the council propose to provide a voice for the marginalised and excluded, those of the pro-Palestine movement, and opportunities for them to educate the wider community on the situation
Rita,
in Gaza?
I will get you to put that question through the normal channels.
Thank you.
The second question that I have registered from yourself is, can council please expand on its definition of harmony and unity, and how will it foster genuine harmony within its community? I will answer that question, so thank you for your question. As stated in Manningham's council vision, which was read in our previous response, we've developed our community in 2020. That community vision was developed by the community for the community, and it best reflects our commitment to harmony and unity within the community. Our health and wellbeing strategy also identifies our goals for connected and inclusive community, and accompanied by this has priority actions to increase connection and engagement in community life. Manningham prides itself on providing a wide range of activities, inclusive services to our community. It is our aim to be an inclusive and welcoming city. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
Our next questions are from Meredith Lawrence. Meredith, if you are in the gallery, if you would like to come to the lectern, and you have 2 minutes to make an introductory statement before asking your questions.
Hello, councillors. My name's Meredith Lawrence, and I'm the daughter of Jewish Holocaust survivors. My family faced starvation, brutality, disease, and systematic killing during the Second World War. This is relevant to me because while these Nazi atrocities were taking place, the world looked on without doing anything. Jews were the other, and the view was that we were the problem. How is this any different from what is going on now in Gaza, the largest open-air prison in the world, where 2 million people are now displaced and trapped? 85% of the physical infrastructure is destroyed. The health system has collapsed because of Israeli attacks. More children have been killed in nearly 6 months than in all the conflicts globally in the last 4 years. And Israel kills people who are just trying to get access to food. The whole population is starving, and Israel has now stated that it will not allow UNRWA to provide humanitarian aid, thus continuing its policy of intentional starvation. How is this any different from the Nazis and the atrocities that my family and other Jews experienced? And how is it that, as with the Shoah, we are just bystanders doing nothing because Palestinians are the other? Councils could be taking the lead to stand up against genocide, and some are, but Manningham hides behind the excuses of overseas genocides not being council business, or that taking a stand is divisive. I think council should hang its head in shame. It is important to state that there has always been opposition in the Jewish community to Zionism, and with Benjamin Netanyahu's genocidal attack on Gaza, Jewish opposition to Israel is growing. I was really disturbed to see that the Jewish Community Council of Victoria seemed to influence the decisions of this council. The JCCV in no way...
Thank you, Meredith, for your 2 minutes introductory statement. Could you ask your question now, please? Question 1.
All right. My first question is, how does council account for your decision to respond to the demands of a Zionist lobby group instead of your community who have worked so hard for their voice to be heard?
Thank you for your question. I will answer your question on behalf of council. Council has intentional relationships with a broad range of diverse people and communities in Manningham and local councils of the Eastern Region area to support and understand the emerging trends. We operate from a strength-based approach with knowledge of the richness and knowledge in our communities. Council works with the parameters of the Local Government Act and works towards achieving the Manningham Council Plan. Would you please ask your second question?
All right. In light of the current actions by the Israeli government and the IDF, which the International Court of Justice, the highest legal body in the world...
Meredith, if you could please just ask your question because you've had your 2 minutes introductory statement.
This is my question. The ICJ has deemed Israel's actions to be plausibly genocide. What role do you think that councils need to take, or that councillors need to take, to stand up against Israel's genocidal actions to end the horrors in Gaza? And also, why don't you actually consult with a broader group of Jewish organisations?
So, Meredith, I will get you to put those questions through our normal channels because that is a bit different to the one that I have. What I have that you have submitted is, what does council believe its role to be during times of unprecedented and difficult situations of which have a direct impact on our local community? In answering your question, Meredith, as previously advised, the Local Government Act states that the role of council is to provide good governance in its municipal district for all the benefit and well-being of all of the municipal community. How council achieves this is outlined in our council plan and in our health and wellbeing strategy. This is a 4-year plan developed in conjunction with partner organisations and informed by community consultation and contemporary data. It sets out ways that we can support the wellbeing of our community. Thank you for your questions this evening.
Thank you.
Our next questions are from Helen Stemenis. Helen, if you would like to come to the lectern, you have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your questions.
Since the last council meeting, February 24th, over 200 Palestinians seeking flour from an aid truck were murdered in cold blood by Israel. 18 months ago, I moved back to Manningham after 30 years. I've really loved seeing what seems to be an increase in the cultural diversity of people on the streets, in my neighbourhood and in the shops. This diversity includes an increase of representations of people of colour. It's not lost on me that this diversity is not reflected in the Manningham Council, which is made up of approximately, with respect, 90% white folk like me. My first question is to the Mayor. As a white woman and the Mayor, situated on the unceded lands of the Kulin Nation, what do you see as part of your personal responsibility in examining your own conscious and unconscious racial biases?
Thank you. Thank you, Helen. I will get you to put that question through our normal channels, as that's
I
not
sure
the
will.
question. Thank you. And so I have your first question here that you actually have submitted before the meeting. What professional processes do councillors have in place that enable self-reflection and the responsibility given to their position of power and their privilege in the community? That you happy for that question to be answered?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. I will ask Carrie Bruce, our Acting Chief Legal and Governance Officer, to answer your question.
Thank you so much for your question, Helen. In terms of councillors, when they're first elected, they're fully inducted in their roles through a series of development opportunities to help them understand their role and also their responsibilities of being a councillor and representing their local communities. In addition to this, throughout their term, councillors regularly participate in a program of ongoing professional development to ensure that they have a contemporary understanding of their roles. So if there are any changes to legislation or the way that we need to conduct our business, we make sure that councillors are fully briefed on their responsibilities. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
And then Helen, your second question?
Yep, my second question is, one moment please.
Yep.
Either for Carly or the CEO, Andrew, what are the internal council processes that deal with complaints around alleged councillor misconduct, both internally and then externally, specifically when comments are made by councillors that could be alleged to be racist?
Thank you, Helen. I will ask the CEO to respond to your question.
Thank you, Helen. So council has conduct standards that are set out in the publicly available councillor code of conduct, and that's something that each councillor signs at the start of their term. And also there are the Local Government Act and associated regulations, and all these documents set out processes to deal with any allegations of misconduct and the process for making complaints in relation to that.
And beyond internal, what are the external institutions?
Thank you,
please?
Helen. If I can get you, that's your two questions. So if you can put those through our normal channels.
I'll be happy to provide an answer to that, Helen.
Yep, thank you. You mean on notice or now?
through our normal channels.
If you can be really specific on what you're asking for.
So what I'm saying is, so government
departments
departments can go to the Victorian Ombudsman. Where does somebody who exhausts the internal complaints process?
If you've got complaints about local government, there are a range of agencies. The Ombudsman is one.
Yep.
The Vargo is another one.
Yep.
There's a local government inspectorate. There's IBAC. There are a range of agencies that people can complain about government services, including local government.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen. Our next questions are from Zara Chef Hassan. Sorry if I didn't get that right, Zara. Sorry, Sarah. Sarah, if you would like to come to the lectern, you have 2 minutes to make your introductory statements before asking your questions.
Thank you. It's actually Dr. Sarah Sheikh Hussain. I am an academic and a researcher specialized in anti-racism and Islamophobia, and I happen to live in Manningham. So while I'm proud that my council hosted an anti-racism event on the 21st of March, clearly recognizing the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, I am baffled. I am baffled by this council's limited understanding of racism, whose recent actions have resulted in rhetoric and political positions aggravating racism rather than tackling it. There are 3 tiers of racism. The first one is the obvious interpersonal racism. That's when people undermine others based on their race, religion, and ethnicity. For example, Councillor Goff's remarks at the February council meeting implying migrants should be grateful, sit in their boxes, and toe the line, which reveal the racist underpinning and the stark disconnection with Australia's democratic and multicultural reality. The second is systematic racism and institutional racism, which is basically when biases impact peoples of color's livelihood and equal opportunities. Since 7th of October, every level of the government has failed to provide equal opportunities and support services to the Palestinian communities impacted, contrasting the extensive moral, political, and social and financial support extended to the Jewish Israeli communities in Australia. From the illumination of Australia's monuments, councils included, with the colors of the Israeli flag while Israeli bombs rained down on Gaza civilians, to the halting, then cancelling of tourist visas issued to Palestinians with family in Australia, like my own family, to the $25 million handed to Jewish Australians to support them during these hard times, while nothing was handed to the established Palestinian or Islamic organizations. The third kind of racism is structural racism, when all these biased policies and practices leave a compounding effect on the Palestinian community living here and those supporting their liberation from all walks of life, leading to intimidation in workplaces, deteriorating mental and health well-being, and deep-seated mistrust in the government. So my question is, are you aware? Is this council aware that the Palestinian and Muslim communities in Manningham are living through all these 3 tiers of racism, and that the council's actions in the last council meeting directly contributed to that manifestation of that racism that we're living through?
Thank you, Zara. I have your first question, which says, does the council believe it has an appropriate level of understanding of racism in our community?
Yeah, I'm part of the community. Do you have a proper understanding of racism in the community of the 3 levels?
I will ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to answer your question.
Thank you, Sarah. Look, I don't want to repeat myself, so some of what I was going to say has already been responded to in my reply to Rita Meneses, but almost half of our residents have been born overseas, and we do have an understanding that there is an experience of racism in our community. Many of our residents face it. As I outlined before, we are doing work on a variety of levels to understand that, to have conversations with our community about that, and to try and address it. Excuse me. We are continually working on a variety of levels to try and have a better understanding and a better response to racism, and we will continue to do so. We understand that racism has an effect on people's health and wellbeing, and that's the approach that we're taking. It's a health and wellbeing matter, and it needs to be addressed across a variety of platforms. Thank you.
My
And
second
Dr. Sarah,
question.
second question.
Yeah, my second question. How can the council champion and host an anti-racism event when few weeks ago the council participated in perpetuating at worst and concealing at best the racism impacting the lived experience of its Palestinian and Muslim residents, myself included?
Thank you. I've got your registered second question as, does council have any reflections on the anti-racism event it ran last Thursday, given the lack of diversity on its panel? So if you have any other further questions, please feel free to put them through our normal channels. Are you happy for your second question to be that you registered to be answered?
Okay, why not?
So I'll ask Lee to continue and answer that question.
Thank you, Sarah. And as mentioned last week, Council did host an event to acknowledge the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. On the evening, there was a formal welcome to country from Uncle Colin Hunter Jr. and 2 guest speakers and a panel discussion. The guest speakers were from Victoria University and from Women's Health East. They provided the preliminary outcomes from 2 locally delivered projects on racial discrimination that we've been involved with. The panel members were the representatives from these projects and reflected many community intersections such as different ages, gender, education and cultural backgrounds. We had around 60 members of our local community come together to pause and consider how we can work to build a fairer and more inclusive community. At the conclusion of the event, an online survey was sent to the registered attendees because we're keen to hear what they see as the priority areas and to provide us with feedback about how we can continue to tackle racism. The information from the online surveys will be considered by Council and the Manningham Multicultural Communities Advisory Committee to help plan the next steps forward in tackling racism.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. Our next 2 questions are from Basil L. Behesi. Basil, would you like to come to the lectern? You have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your question.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I did have a statement to say up until about 4 p.m. this afternoon, but I decided to change it. I'm going to make it very brief. The only part of my written statement I'll read is, "Do not let my family die in vain," said the Euromed Monitor's Advocacy Officer Ahmed Naouq in an oral statement at the United Nations Human Rights Council's 55th session on Monday. And Naouq has lost 21 members of his family in an Israeli airstrike when his family's home in Gaza, called on the Council and its member states to hold the perpetrators accountable for the tragedy, and which serve, as he said, a microcosm of the horror inflicted upon the imprisoned population of Gaza. And as I'm sure a lot of you know, that I've lost a lot of family members. And one of the things that I changed my statement is, at 4 p.m. when I was visiting my parents, they told me that further members of our family have been killed. My cousin, his wife, cousin Nasser, his wife, Mohja, and his daughter Arij, and her 4 children. So that's 7 of them. And just to show the council today that these are humans, these are not numbers, I asked if there are any photos of them. This is the only family photo I could get for them today. So, my 2 questions to you. The first question is, can I get a better understanding, and this question is for Mayor Lang, please. Can I get a better understanding why the Mayor decided to vote no to the motion raised by Councillor Light by the last council meeting, when she could have instead requested an amendment to the part of the motion she did not agree with, which is what you stated to some of us after that meeting?
Thank you for your question, Dr. Basil. Sorry to hear of the loss for you personally. I did listen to a broad range of views. I stayed open-minded. I listened to the debate on the night. And even though I did not support the motion, I continue to support the community in this incredibly difficult time, ensuring that residents are heard and supported through this time of crisis. In relation to... Sorry, there's only the question from the lectern. In relation to moving of an amendment, any councillor is entitled to move an amendment and the amendment on any item before council. This did not occur on the night. Do you have your second question?
Yeah, the second question, which is, does council suggest any solutions to repairing its fractured relationship with residents, Palestinians and others, who are standing in solidarity with the ongoing Palestinian suffering? And I actually withdraw this question because, unfortunately, the fracture has been deepened this evening. Thank you.
Our next two questions are from Shaven Rabah. Shaven, if you would like to come to the lectern, and you have 2 minutes to make your introductory statement before asking your questions.
Good evening. My name is Shavin Ranjbar. I am an Iranian-Australian resident of Manningham. I chose to live in this city because it gives me a sense of belonging and community. I belong to a few mothers group who are from different backgrounds and religions. Through all these years, we help each other to raise our kids and teach them what cultural intelligence means in real life, how to understand others' value, concerns, and sorrow. I would invite my Muslim friends to iftar in Ramadan, and they would attend Friends Mitzvah ceremony in synagogue to respect our friendship. Last year, they comforted me during the Women Life Freedom Revolution in Iran, when the Iranian diaspora was suffering from bloodshed happening in Iran. Moving forward, after 1 year, my Muslim friends are in a very hard situation. They are suffering from the genocide in Gaza. For instance, one of them has her family in Gaza Strip. They need to pay 7,000 USD per person to get them out of the Gaza. They can only afford to pay for 3 and have to choose whose life is more important and more precious to rescue. Imagine the burden on their shoulders. She quit her job because she could not cope with the stress, and as her friend, I can do nothing but watch. As a community, we have done nothing in solidarity with them. They are suffering in silence. I appreciate offering them counseling, but it's not enough. It's an individual help. We need a community approach. I feel powerless, and I don't know how to comfort them, to show them our concerns without a fear of being labeled as a terrorist supporter. I don't know what to teach to our kids when their friends are suffering. According to the poem...
Thank you, Shavin. That was your 2-minute introductory statement. Would you like to ask your questions?
Question 1. What Manningham community can do in solidarity with the residents who are affected by Gaza conflict from both sides, not just what you do in synagogue or mosques?
Thank you, Shamina. I will answer the question. Council continues to keep the lines of communication open with our community and provide ongoing support. Some of these are offering fortnightly meetings between myself and local groups, not just those that are at the synagogue or at the mosque. Offering counselling services to those that are impacted, supporting the provision of food services through local providers, and addressing and condemning any signs of discrimination in our community. Continuing to facilitate events run by local community to address the suffering and their loved ones that they are experiencing. Can I also add further to that there are there's a wide range of support measures to support those who are affected in these times. Thank you. Do you have your second question?
I have second question, but your answer is not convincing me. As a member of the community, I cannot see where can I actually... I'm not a member of either of side, but I'm a member of a community. I want to see it when we are in actual life in the community. I want to see those actions so I can participate too.
Thank you for that response. Shavin, would you like to ask your second question?
The second question is that how local government can echo the voice of the community to the state government, which we can see the echo in tonight's session clearly.
Thank you. I'll also answer your question on behalf of Council. Manningham Council has a strong functional relationship with all members of Parliament and the state government. We also work with a number of state government bodies, such as Vic Health, in exploring the local experience and working towards better health and wellbeing outcomes. These are proactive initiatives with statutory, excuse me if it's quiet from the gallery so I can answer the question. These are proactive initiatives with statutory organisations that feed into a greater insight of our community's experience. We also encourage all residents to speak directly to their state member and to advocate for their own views. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you.
You've got a connection with him, we don't. You speak on our behalf to people.
Thank you. I will ask those in the gallery to be quiet so we can continue the council meeting. Item 8, admission of urgent business. Do I have a mover?
I move that the council admits the consideration of the following urgent business report at item 15 of this meeting. Item 15.1, documents of sealing.
I will just pause our meeting to give the gallery a minute to leave, if they wish to. Otherwise, those who are welcome to stay. I'll ask all members of the gallery to be quiet if you would like to stay, otherwise you may leave.
When it comes to support, the community tells you if they can support it. You don't tell the community that you're supporting them. We get to say... Yes.
Councillors, I will resume the meeting. So do I have a seconder for the motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Councillor Michelle Kleinert. All those in favour of the motion? And that's carried unanimously. Item 9, planning permit applications. There are no planning permit applications that require a decision of council this month. Item 10, city planning. 10.1, Manningham residential discussion paper, residential strategy for community consultation. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Goff.
Madam Mayor, I move that the residential discussion paper, residential strategy, that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lightbody. Councillor Goff, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is part of I suppose, a bit of a process that is going to go over about 2 years to its finality. But indeed, what we've got here is probably, I think it was 240-something wonderful pages actually describing the situation of the demographics of Manningham, the type of housing, our planning, our the whole areas of development. It is a fantastic document, and I must admit I will keep this agenda and that document by my side because there is a lot of information in there. I'm not going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about is the challenge that this is helping us with. We do have a residential strategy that the state government have in recent times moved into some new policies, which has thrown up a number of questions that we're going to have to address into the future. And indeed, this document is going to also go out for public consultation as to what it is, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do a revised residential strategy. And that's the intent of this, and to get it underway, to get it going out to our community so we can get the information back. As we know, Australian population is growing quite rapidly, and it's causing some issues within Australia. One is housing, and this is one that's sort of about to address that issue too. But the actual growth of Australia is keeping us probably out of recession, and therefore it's probably going to continue, which then puts pressure on to local government areas to actually fit into the solution of housing and finding where people are going to live. And this is getting to our policies of our input to the state government of where we think increased population should go. And it's important that we actually, A, inform the community that this is happening, but B, go with the community as to identifying those areas of need for increased population. And this work, together with that consultation with the community in 2 stages of this whole process, it's going to go for a couple of years, is going to put us in the best position for the future, because we are going to be very quickly asked about where we're going to put people and what we're going to do. Indeed, we will have very soon lost control of the area around Doncaster Hill, because that's within 1.5 kilometres of a nominated station. And once that nomination is made, whether the railway line is built or not, the state government will take over the planning of that area. So there are lots of issues in where we should build, and this is what the discussion paper, where we should put that higher density, at what height we should do it, how dense it should be. But the thing that's going to hit local government is the absolute cost of extra infrastructure, because that infrastructure is going to be put on to local ratepayers and our organisation to come up and to build that infrastructure, to ensure it's there. We know we've already got pressures on sporting grounds and other sorts of things. We already know that we're way behind with roads and we've got huge drainage problems. But when it comes to more intense and more development, it's going to put issues onto council that we have to make provision for into the future. And so this document is great as the start. It's going to go out for that public consultation. It's a process that's going the next couple of years, but indeed we are going to have to do something about this issue and sort of identify and bring the community along with us, because there are going to be massive changes in metropolitan Melbourne in the next 20, 30 years. And we need to be starting to plan for that now. So, councillors, I believe that we should endorse this and go out to our community and work through this process. I'd like to thank the people that have come together with it. It's a combination of looking at all of our policies that we've already got here and reworking it for the future documentation for the state government's, what is it called, Housing Statement 23-24, which we're coming in to sort of comply with to make and just to revise, we've already got a statement on this, but we're looking at the revision of it.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Lightbody, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll echo most of what Councillor Goff said, although I won't be keeping it by my side 24 hours a day. I think this is a really important document, and there's been a lot of work going into that, so I'd like to thank the officers for everything that's happened so far, and also just mention how important it is for the community to have a look at this, have a read at all the information, all the data that's in there, and take this opportunity to provide their feedback and their comments, their ideas, because no planning scheme is perfect, and our planning scheme definitely is also not perfect. So any opportunity we have to make improvements to that, to make our community better, is a really important opportunity for everyone to take. So everyone should definitely have a look through this one. It goes at everything from, I guess, like housing density, population increases, to neighbourhood character, and how we get around our community and how we want people in the future to get around our community and where we want them to live, so that everyone can live in a really well planned and successful neighbourhood. I might just leave it there, actually. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lightbody. Do I have any speakers against the motion? Do I have any speakers for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Chen.
So why we need a residential strategy? We do have one. The last residential strategy was prepared in 2012. It was informed by the neighbourhood character guidelines, and it proved that it has been working really well and successful. But we have to be mindful that since then the state government has implemented several new city-shaping infrastructure projects across the whole Melbourne, so-called the big build, such as the Eastern Freeway upgrade and the Northeast Link. And last year in September, the Victorian government released the housing statement, as Councillor Lightbody and Councillor Goff just mentioned about. It introduced streamlined pathway for housing-related development assessments, including a greater ministerial role. So that means the minister can intervene if he wishes. The housing statement also includes a commitment to update the Plan Melbourne 2017 to 2050 with a new whole of Victoria focus. It set a target of 70% of new homes to be built in established areas. So Manningham is not immune from the process. And making sure growth areas deliver the rest of 30%. A future planning reform via a review of the Planning Environment Act 1987 will be in process as well. So importantly, the state government will establish local government targets for where those homes will be built. So Manningham will not be immune from the process. That is why we need to take a proactive approach to address the emergent needs resulting from the population and household change. So we have to be carefully consider where it can be located and affordability and as well as sustainability. So as an elected member, I understand that our residents favor the neighborhood character very much so. So the discussion paper will identify 4 things, and neighborhood character is one of them. And discussion paper also identify 9 existing neighborhood character areas. So that can be in page 23 of the agenda if residents are interested in have a look first. So I will hope that but have we got it right? That is why we need the consultation process. So I actually encourage our residents to have a look of the attachment 1. There is a brief introduction of the planning discussion paper, but for more detailed information, we have to go through the whole documents to get a sense of it, because they also include 2 very important technical reports. So,
Councillor Chen, that's time.
Thank you very much. This is the end of my...
Yeah. Do I have any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Laura Mayne.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say how I really like how this report explores the need for improved housing affordability and diversity to meet the demands of our growing population in Manningham. I think it's not only for our growing population, but also to note that it's mainly for young families who grew up, people who grew up in this area and still would love to live in this area, maybe near their grandparents and in their community, as well as those retirees who want to downsize and, again, still want to live in the area that they have lived for 50 plus years and should still be able to live here. So I think it's great how this report really helps us strategise how we are going to achieve that while still retaining the neighbourhood character that we absolutely love in Manningham, as well as that community feel, as well as some high quality design that's still aesthetically pleasing for the community to enjoy. So I'd just like to thank the officers for their work putting together this report, and it's a report that I think is really detailed as well as very important. Thank you.
Do I have any other speakers to the motion? I'll just add my thanks to the team for the officers for the Manningham residential discussion paper. I really look forward to hearing from the community, as I know the purpose is really to seek the community's feedback on a range of housing matters, including the existing housing that we have, but also future housing needs. And if I just identify what those 4 themes are that underpin the residential discussion paper, it's about the community having their feedback on housing location and connectedness, which was said before through Councillor Lightbody with terms of transportation, housing design, neighbourhood character, and housing diversity and affordability. So I congratulate the officers on the work for the discussion paper and look forward to the community and hearing on those 4 main themes. I'll put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 11, connected communities. There are no connected community reports this evening. Item 12, city services. There are no city services reports. Item 13, experience and capability. There are no experience and capability reports this evening either. Item 14, Chief Executive Officer. Item 14.1, informal meetings of councillors. Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Councillor Anna Chen, did you want to speak to the motion? Councillor Laura Main, did you want to speak to the motion? All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Item 15, urgent business. Item 15.1, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover of the motion? Thank you, Councillor Michelle Kleinert.
That the following document be signed and sealed. Deed of Surrender, Council and Chinese Community Social Service Centre Incorporated, Part 687 Doncaster Road, Doncaster.
Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Councillor Michelle Kleinert, did you want to speak to the motion?
No, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Laura Main, did you want to speak to the motion? All those in favour of the motion? And that's carried unanimously. Item 16, councillor report and question time. Councillors, would anyone like to provide a report or raise a question? Thank you, Councillor Anna Chen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just want to ask a question. As a council survey in 2023, we feel that badminton is one of the top 4 nominated traditional sports played in Manningham. Data showed that between 2018 and 2021, 30% of badminton participants across the region reside in Manningham, indicating a strong local interest in badminton. Badminton is particularly popular in Asia. It has also become popular worldwide, including Europe and North America. Recently, I attended a Persian New Year celebration. I was told that badminton is very popular among women. Unfortunately, there are limited facilities to cater for this sport. The lighting environment in council's multi-use facilities has a significant impact to the enjoyment and performance of our residents who played badminton. The glare can blind players' eyes. I was told that it has become a barrier and limit their opportunities to participate in physical activity. My question is, what measures in place to address the issue in the short term and into the future? Can we have a progress report from the officers? Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask the CEO to respond.
If our microphones are working, I'll speak up loudly. Have you got a response? Oh, I'll hand it over to Lee Robson.
I'll ask Lee Robson, Director of Connected Communities, to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Chen. Council has the Sports Facility Development Plan, Stage 2 document, which identifies in relation to badminton. These primarily focused on enhancing existing facilities to cater for badminton, including considering the needs of badminton when retrofitting existing council facilities. And that would include things like the lighting positions. Thank you, this is obviously not working. It would include things like the lighting positions, line marking and wall colours, which are all important when playing an aerial sport like badminton. The second point outlined in the development plan is to work with our leisure services provider to enable future access to council facilities to cater for badminton, with a focus on usage during business hours. And the third point in the plan is if additional indoor stadiums are constructed by council, to ensure the needs of badminton is considered. Additionally, the Sports Facility Development Plan identified the need to work with the Doncaster Secondary College to advocate for community use within their proposed badminton facility. Aligned Leisure, as the management group responsible for the operation of council stadiums,
is supporting the growth of badminton through the operation of the Doncaster Badminton Centre, which includes 6 badminton courts and is open for 103 hours per week, and the Donvale Indoor Sports Centre, which includes 8 badminton courts. And Lion Leisure are also exploring the introduction of badminton at the Mullum Stadium. Thanks, Councillor Chen. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Lee Robinson. Councillors, do I have any other? Councillor Michelle Kleinert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Templestowe Bowling Club's club champion, James Sementoradis, made history last weekend, which was not last weekend, the weekend before, by becoming the first bowler to win the Templestowe Bowling Club to win the coveted Yarra Region Champion of Champions medal. He defeated all the club champions from the bowling clubs throughout the Yarra region, of which we're part of, as James has just reached the ripe old age of 26. He has many years of success to look forward to, so that's a lovely story, a local story that's recent. And also, we had just this weekend the Manningham Family Festival, which was, again, another success. It's run by the Manningham City Rotary Club, which do an amazing job. 3 Rotary clubs have now combined in Manningham to become Manningham City Rotary. And for the second time, they also partnered with the Mental Health Foundation Australia with the Walk for Mental Health, Youth Mental Health. So thousands turned out. It was an absolutely stellar day, perfect weather. It was just wonderful to see so many people from so many diverse cultures and backgrounds, ages. You saw 3 generations out there together. There was a whole raft of great activities, and it's wonderful to see. You don't have to go far to get something that's absolutely wonderful. So a great event, and thanks to all involved as well.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle Kleinert. Councillors, do I have any other reports or questions? Councillor Laura Main.
Actually, just adding to Councillor Michelle Kleinert's report, I just also like to thank the Scouts for their contribution as well to the Finns Family Reserve. I just thought it was so great to see the collaboration between Scouts, Rotary and so many other community organisations. It's a sign of a very bonded and strong community, and that was great to see. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Councillor Laura Main. Do I have any other council reports or questions? Councillors, I'll give a report. In the month of March, we had the Run for Warrandyte, and it was a huge success with many races in all age group categories. And its motto this year was healthy physically, mentally and socially. And it was a great day to be physical. It was a great day to connect socially, and it was a great day that it made you feel good in terms of your mental health. And I also attended the Manningham Concert Band Autumn Concert. And councillors, it was a very enjoyable occasion with a quiz for the participants or for the crowd who watched. We had to guess the colour that was associated with the different musical accompaniment that they played. So it was quite an interactive concert, and Councillor Chen and I enjoyed ourselves very much. I did not do very well in the quiz. Out of 6, I think I might have got 1 right, but it was a very enjoyable evening, and it was a way for everyone to be truly listening to the well-orchestrated band. So thanks. Item 17, confidential reports. Do I have a mover for the motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that Council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66.1 and 66.2A of the Local Government Act 2020 and consider the following item. Item 17.1, future direction of the Regional Assessment Service, and item 17.2, expressions of interest for the former quarry.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We will now be closing the meeting to the members of the public and ending the live stream to consider the confidential reports. Thank you for joining the meeting this evening.